motion to pull those items off the consent agenda. Otherwise, I can entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
This is Commissioner Clements. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Lyons, I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda has been approved. All right, we have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. And our first item is Design Review 2043 at 529 Lenora Street. Damon Beard for Steve and Sonia Vlasic. Do we have a representative in person or on the phone?
Yes, this is Damon, and I also have the owner, Steve Vlasic, with me.
Okay, great. If you would like to just tell us about your project, I believe we can get the packet information in front of us. There we go. I've got the wrong screen. Okay, and you can go ahead and just tell us about your project, and then we'll have Brian go over, or whoever is lead tonight, go over the details.
Okay. What we're proposing is a mixed-use project on the corner of Lenora and Roosevelt. The project consists of one residential unit and one commercial space. We're looking at about 2,042 square foot of living area and 1,014 square foot of commercial area. Site access is from Lenora. We've worked with the city engineer as currently Lenora Street is not centered on the right of way there, so that we could access the site from Lenora and leave the existing street as it is, which will allow us to store snow in front of the property line, kind of in the existing tree line there, and that also gives us a way to provide drainage for that snow. The commercial area is accessed only from Lenora. It's a single story, whereas the residential is 2-story. Primary living area on the first floor, which is what we're calling the Lenora side, with parking. We have 2 parking stalls in a garage for residential and 3 parking stalls for the commercial area. And then as the site slopes towards the north, slopes down towards the north, we have a lower level that is also part of the residential unit. Exterior materials include cedar siding with a 6-inch reveal for residential with a stucco component for the garage. As you look at the elevation from Lenora, the residential is separated from the commercial by a vertical stone element, and then the commercial component is board and bat siding with some eyebrow roofs for accent and to kind of break up the elevations. That's kind of a quick overview. I'd be happy to entertain any questions or go into any further detail that anyone might like to see.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, it sounds like we can move forward and have our city representatives sort of review their side of the application.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brian or Diane or whoever. I'm sorry, I know this
we were on mute, of course.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, good afternoon. I'll run you through this presentation on this project. As you can tell from the number, this application was made in last October, so it has been in review for quite some time. I think the applicant and our particular Public Works Department have worked to try to find the best access for this site. As the applicant mentioned, it's at the northwest corner of Roosevelt and Lenora. It's approximately 9,452 square feet in size, and it slopes at a grade of 9% from Lenora down to the north property line. It's in the CBD zone, and it's adjacent to R8 on the east and the south side. And there's single-family residences, as you know, along the south side of Lenora, and also to the west of this site. And then to the north is Toby's Thrift Shop. This is a couple photographs that show you the existing site. It's vacant. It's well treed, and as I mentioned before, it slopes from south to north. And so it's a very challenging site, both because of the natural features on the site as well as its size and the configuration of the lot. Here's the site plan that I think is, Damon can confirm this, but I think this is about the fourth site plan that they've been through in trying to find the best location for access to the site. They looked at access from Roosevelt as well as using the 16-foot alley that's along the west property line right in this location here. So the access would be from Lenora through a driveway, and there would be a surface lot area for 3 car spaces for the commercial site, which is located right here, and then a garage for 2 cars for the residence, which is located at that location there. And so this is all on one level, and then below the residence is a storage facility. And then along the south side of, the north side of the property, they would construct a pedestrian walkway that would connect Roosevelt with the unimproved alley to the west, as well as they're proposing to make sidewalk improvements as required in the CBD on Roosevelt and Lenora. So you're looking at this for design review, and as you know, this is the design review criteria that we walk through on all of these applications, that it be in conformance with the comprehensive plan. It doesn't jeopardize the health, safety, welfare of the public, and it's consistent with the McCall design review guidelines and the zoning code. And as I mentioned, since this was originally filed with us in October of last year, we are reviewing it under the code that was in force at that time, and it doesn't. We're not looking at the new revised standards that were adopted in January. So we're looking at the old code in review of this application. So in terms of conformance with the comprehensive plan, there's several elements of that plan that are relevant to the project. It certainly is a location where the city desires to see development in terms of in the CBD, in an infill location, a project that provides an opportunity for walkability and is compact development. It does affect the environment, the natural resources, because on this lot, there's not a lot you can do without affecting the large canopy of forest trees that are there. And a condition of approval is to protect trees outside of the building area and reforest after development is completed. It advances our economic development goals for development on a vacant lot in the CBD. It's an area where public services and utilities are available, and it promotes multimodal with the addition of the sidewalks and the walkways, and is proposed to be connect with other pathways within the city. The second criteria is it does not jeopardize the health, safety, and welfare. And this is where we usually look to engineering for direction and helping us to achieve this criteria. And their review, unfortunately, was based on the original site plan. And so those review comments that you have in the packet go back to, I think, the first of the year when they were looking at that first site plan that had access off of Roosevelt. At that time, they recommended this Lenora access, and so the site plan is consistent with that. But they really have not done the preliminary review of this new site plan in terms of what's the grading requirements, what's the drainage, what kind of retaining walls might be needed, and looking at the dimensional requirements for the driveway in terms of grade and access. The project does provide sidewalk improvements. There'll be a requirement for lighting at the corner, and it'll extend water and sewer. And there'll be a requirement to phase development to meet the sewer capacity of the basin. So all of these provisions, conditions of the project will not jeopardize, will ensure that there's no impact on health, safety, and welfare of the public. And then finally, conforming to the design guidelines and the zoning. And I'll just walk through quickly the zoning requirements. It meets all of the standards of the commercial zone development standards in terms of size, size of the site, the size of the building, footprint, setbacks. The height, they have not applied for a conditional use permit, so the height is at 30 feet. Section 34031 relates to a maximum setback, or the Bill 2 line, which requires that the main entrance to the building be no farther than 10 feet from the property line. There is an exception that's allowed by you through the design review process when there's a pedestrian amenity that intervenes and helps to connect that main entrance with the public right-of-way. So in this case, I've showed you where the commercial entrance is. It's mostly on Lenora, but it's almost going toward the corner, facing the corner of the intersection. And then they're proposing as an amenity to connect that doorway with the street with an outdoor plaza right in the front that's shown there on the site plan. There's special requirements for the CBD that include sidewalk improvements. And there's also requirement that at the grade that there be at least 50% ground floor devoted to commercial or public space, as well as residential. And in this case, they're right at that 50% if you exclude the garage from the calculation and you include the open space in the calculation. Mixed use residential uses are allowed in mixed use, and they can be to the side of the commercial use, as is in the case of this project. Parking, they're required 5 parking places. They have 2 in the garage, 3 on the surface. 1 is ADA. There's a turnaround area that's shown right here in front of the driveway, which would allow for cars to turn and then make a front exit from the site. And this is an area where probably the Public Works Department's review would be helpful to make sure that that turning radius is adequate. There also is a need to provide bicycle parking, which they haven't shown, and that would be a condition of approval. And there's also requirements for buffering that parking area through additional landscaping. They're going to remove 10 trees. They're identified as the red dots on this plan. They're both in the public right-of-way as well on the site. And so there's conditions for protecting trees and landscaping plan. Other provisions of the code in terms of trash storage, snow storage, they have shown, but we need to confirm the adequacy and location of that. And then trash storage and lighting, a condition of approval is to identify the location of those, and in the case of fixtures, what type of fixtures to protect the dark sky requirements. So moving then quickly to design guidelines. The first one is to assure building scale will be in proportion to the surrounding area. The project is set back from the corner. It'll appear single story, as you see in the bottom right side of the screen, from Lenora Street, which makes it provides a little bit of a transition from the single family residences across that street, which are actually elevated, those to the south. The greatest impact from the scale of the building will be on the Roosevelt, or the northeast corner of the site, right in this location right there, where it's sort of a blank wall, and it's at kind of the tallest portion of the building is at that location. The scale is mitigated through variations in the materials and in the wall planes, and they use a low profile roof that also helps to lower the scale of the building. B is that the project is supportive of and responsive to community input. So far to date, we've received 1 letter, which I think you have a copy of, which was in support of the project, which but which asks for a stop sign at Lenora at the intersection with Roosevelt, and then create and maintain pedestrian scale character. It does that through the sidewalks and the walkways and the outdoor plaza that it's providing, as well as stairs and walkways that connect the site with the public right-of-way. Design guidelines D meet requirements for mixed use. I indicated already that it appears to meet that. And then avoid blank walls. Again, except for that northeast corner of the building, it has generous fenestration windows all around the rest of the remaining part of the building. Maintain the small town feel with appropriate storefronts. Because of this location and its adjacency to residents, it's not your typical downtown storefront, but they have provided for these horizontal windows that would be visibility into the commercial space, and it seems appropriate for the location. Design with rhythm of solids and voids. The changing wall planes and roof lines provide that, with exception of that northeast corner. And then have a balanced proportion of openings to wall space. They've got windows, they've got doors and patios. They've highlighted the entry and the garage by using windows, and those transom windows for commercial space, again, provide a balance of openings to wall space. Find creative solutions for parking. As I mentioned, they've explored several ways to do this. It's not a site that can accommodate parking behind the building, and that was their initial site plans, was trying to create parking off of Roosevelt, and it just didn't work as well. So from their standpoint, this is probably the best. It seems to meet the response to the Public Works direction that access, when you have a property that is adjacent to two streets, that access should be from the lower classification street, and that's the case with Lenora. Design roof shapes that blend with the surrounding features. They've used a series of shed roofs that are low in profile and provide some scale. They provide appropriate scale for the surrounding area. And then lastly, maintain a relationship to the site. They provide a transition with the rest of the CBD and the residential district. They will remove trees and modify the existing slope conditions. And again, to the extent we're not really clear yet until the some grading planning has been done. And they provide a low profile face to the neighbors surrounding them. They've done a good job at integrating all of the design features, trying to maintain as much of the natural conditions as possible, and integrating the parking with the project, the building. So we had, as you can see, these comments go back to the end of last year, and so this project did not go out. The site plan did not go out again for review by other agencies. So there were no comments or no objections by IDT and IDL. Public Works had there's several pages of very detailed requirements for on-site grading, drainage, stormwater, snow storage, water, and utilities. PLRWSD said there's 1 EDU available for the site and 4 can be available after improvements to the sewer system, and they have been in contact with the applicant. CDH has no requirements at this time, but may if there's any future commercial uses that require a health certificate. And then from Building and Fire were requirements to meet the fire code and the IBC. And then the Economic Development Director just expressed concern for vacant commercial space. And then, as I indicated, there was one public comment from Tim Dahlquist from May 26, recommending the stop signs at the intersection. So again, this is an application that requires a lot more engineering review. And so prior to the issuance of building permit, there should be final engineering approval. I think alternatively, if you're not comfortable with that, because the case may be that going through the engineering, this site plan might change, and it might change substantially, that would require that it be returned to you. So that's a future scenario that could occur. The other option you could have before you is just to continue this and have this revised site plan reviewed by all the agencies and particularly engineering for their comments. But if you do decide to move ahead, prior to the issuance of building permit, they should get final engineering approval, proof of sewer connection permits, demonstrated compliance with the fire code, a revised site plan which is code compliant regarding bicycle parking, exterior lighting, trash and service areas, consultation with the city arborist for seeing if there's any adjustments to the site plan that could be made to save trees, or identifying plans for tree protection during construction, and then prior to the issuance of a C of O landscape plan. And this design review permit will lapse in 1 year. So that completes the staff presentation. We'd be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Diane.
If this is Commissioner Clements. Has there been any work done to see if the stop signs are relevant? Is that a relevant request?
Commissioner Clements, I asked Public Works that question, and I don't think they have really had chance to really review it. I think that letter came in at the end of last week, so it only gave them a day or so to look at it, and I haven't gotten a response back from them.
Okay. And then my second question is on the engineering. It sounds like that's a fairly critical step going forward in this, correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's typically, we don't want to approve a design that has so many engineering difficulties that then you've got to come back and redesign and go through the process again. So, you know, it might be in everyone's best interest if you give some comments today, take some public hearing, and then continue it and send it back out for that site plan review to be reviewed by all the agencies, since it is different from what they looked at the end of last year.
Right. Yeah. To my point on that, I think we're a little premature on it, but we'll continue on here.
Any other comments from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Lyons. I agree. I think there's a lot of potential changes, and I think it should go through, get more of that engineering completed, and as well as check the stop sign. And you know, I think there's just too many questions to be able to do an approval right now. So, if appropriate, I'd make a motion to continue this to next meeting with the more engineering being completed, and keep it a public meeting.
Need public signed up.
So this is a public hearing scheduled for this evening, so we could open, if there's anyone who would like to comment about this project this evening, you're welcome to do so. And I think we will likely just continue, you know, if I end up getting a motion in a second to continue this item, that public hearing will continue to our next meeting, so that comment can also be made at that point when we have some finalized engineering plans in front of us. Commissioners, anyone opposed to that idea of waiting for a little more information before we make a determination on this item?
Well, what if the engineering isn't done by our next meeting? We continue it again?
I would assume so. And I don't know, I think maybe.
Madam Chairman, staff indicates that they sent the distribution out today, so it could be sent out in the next day or so.
Yeah.
So it could meet the July meeting.
Okay. Okay. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing for this item so that we can get that started. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this agenda item at 529 Lenora Street?
I would.
Okay, if you can
I'm not a
state your,
commissioner. I'm a
Just-
neighbor.
okay, just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Judith Wright, and my property is at 530 Lenora, directly across the street.
Okay.
One thing I would like to know is what type of retail is this?
We don't have that information, and the public comment period is more just for you to comment, and then,
Well, I'm curious on the parking,
Sure.
the parking places, three parking places. If you look around at any of the other little shops that are separated, you know, 3 isn't anywhere near enough, but I don't know what they're doing in there, you know, whether it's a destination place or if, and 2, I would like to know how high it is, because my deck is right, and this is the only window of a lake view I have, and I've got a pretty good investment there, and I would really like to save that view. I don't know how high 30 feet is, and from what point are you measuring?
The public comment period, just to give you sort of how this generally works. So we've heard your comments, and then we will go through anyone else who wants to make comments. At the end, since you have kind of specific questions, I will perhaps have, we're likely going to be continuing this item, so it's hard to determine what the appropriate action is here, but generally we would have the applicant or staff or whoever can maybe answer those questions or address those concerns comment after the public has commented, if that makes sense. So I will hold your comments and see if anyone else is available to make comments from the public, and then we will try to address those questions, since this is kind of a funky item tonight, since we might be continuing it, just so you can get some kind of answer. Is there anyone else on the phone or in the, I don't think you have anyone in person, but who would like to comment on this item? Any further comment for 529 Lenora Street? Okay.
So, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Excuse me, I was wondering if we could remind folks on the phone that if they're muted, how to unmute their phone.
Oh, yes. And is that *6? Am I remembering?
Yes.
Okay. So if you are on the phone calling in and you want to comment, but you're on mute, you have to hit *6. And it can take a few seconds to unmute yourself so that we can hear you. So that's why I'm allowing a little bit of time, because sometimes there's a delay. So *6 if you would like to comment and you need to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone else. Staff, would you mind addressing those details? She was curious about where the height, where we're measuring from, which is at grade, but if we're still waiting for approval, just so that we can get an answer, since this is likely going to be continued again, so we don't lose those comments or the response to those comments a little bit.
Sure. Madam Chair and members of the commission, the retail use is unspecified at this time. The parking requirements we based on one parking space for 500, which is a general standard for service and retail uses in the commercial district. And the height, I'll give a stab at it, but the architect might want to chime in as well. But as I understand, if you look at that elevation that's in the middle of the screen, that is the elevation facing Lenora, and it is 24 feet in height. Now that the base of that elevation is somewhat lower than the road. So I think from the road, it would appear even lower. And if the testimony was from a person above them on the south side of the street, they're going to be above that grade of the street in addition. So,
Diane?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Damon. And
Go ahead,
the
Damon. I'm
commercial
sorry.
element is about 5 feet below that 24 feet.
Okay.
So we're only at 19 at the commercial side.
Thanks.
From the road? Is that what you're saying?
Well, from the parking lot, and so wherever the road or the parking lot ends up from the road, I think we'll be below the road.
Okay, I don't have the pictures. I'm just on the phone, so I don't have the pictures. But that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. So it sounded like commissioners were perhaps in favor of waiting for some more detailed engineering for the site. Am I on track there, commissioners?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Tunnel. I would agree with that.
Commissioner Clements agrees as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Cron agrees as well. I would like to know more of the commercial use. Looking at the plans, I mean, it's just one large room. There's no bathroom or anything plumbed in. So just, yeah, curious.
And I don't know if it's possible, but while we're at it, I would make a request for the applicant to maybe consider that blank wall that was pointed out. If there's anything that can be done, adding some windows higher up, or it just depends on the space on that property. But I would think if this would be an opportunity to address that, it would be great. So we need a motion to continue with the public hearing to our July meeting. If anyone is so inclined.
This is Commissioner Lyons. I make a motion that we continue this as a public meeting to a July meeting to allow time for more details from the engineering as well as the other items discussed.
This is Commissioner Tunnel. I second that motion.
Okay. There has been a motion and a second. Diane, would you like a roll call vote, or do you want us just all in favor?
I think we've got it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will continue 529 Lenora, which is Design Review 2043, to our next meeting, and look forward to further detail in those plans.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alrighty, so we will move on to Design Review 2122 and Scenic Route 2110, TBD Ridgeway Lane. Do we have a representative for that item?
Yes, this is Scott Weibar.
Hello. You can go ahead and tell us about your project, and then we can get details from staff when you're done.
Okay. I had a PDF prepared. Would it be possible to share that, or is it better just to give a brief introduction?
We can have that shared.
Okay.
Go left to the red button. Yeah, you can stop sharing. Oh, you stop sharing.
I stop sharing.
Should be on. You shouldn't have to do anything, Scott. You should just be able to show your screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's, I will, let's see here. I'm not seeing that option. Is it?
It's usually to the left of the red button that looks like a leave at the top of the Teams meeting. It looks like a little down arrow on a screen or an up arrow.
Yeah, I've just got this going through the browser. 1 second, let's see if I can figure this out. Maybe I can just, maybe you probably have enough information. I can, let's see. I'm using this through the browser, so maybe I don't have the option. You would think so. I haven't used this before.
If you like, you could email us the presentation really quick and we could present it.
Is it any different than what we have?
Yeah, if it's different from what we have.
Yeah, it's just a kind of a, yeah, I can do that. Let me see if I can get it to you quickly. Who should I email it to?
You can send it to Rachel, Meredith, or Brian, and we're all available in the room.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening.
Okay, I just sent a message to Rachel with a Dropbox link.
Okay.
And if that's too complicated, we can move forward. Sorry for the trouble.
You're okay. Okay, there you go.
No. There we go.
Can you see it, Scott?
I can see it. Yeah, thank you. So you can run through these pretty quick, but I just, so this is a project in Lux Point Subdivision. So this is just on the east side of the lake on East Side Drive. And if you want to go to the next slide. That's the location of the parcel, and it's basically right across the East Side Drive from Camp Morrison. And the next slide shows the original plat map for that subdivision, and the original lot 25 that's right there, basically at the entrance of the subdivision, was recently divided, and it's the eastern portion of that lot. So it's right next to the scenic byway. So that's I guess why we're here today for the design review. The next slide is a little more detailed aerial, just showing that it's a heavily treed site, but there is sort of a central area in the site that it has a little bit of a clearing. And so I'll show you in a moment, but we'll be taking advantage of some of that clearing. And there's some rather large, there's big trees that are kind of just to the south of the middle of the site. And I think that there are quite a few trees that access the driveway, the potential access from the north will cut through, but we're actually able to save almost all of those trees. So that would be coming in from the north there on that little road. That's, I think it's Ridgeway or Pinehurst, one of the two roads. So the next slide shows this was a, if you could go to the next slide. Let's, am I still connected? It looks like you're still on slide 4.
It looks like she's moved to 7. You might be frozen.
To 7, okay, interesting.
But we did scroll through 5. And
okay, yeah. So basically, you can see there's some images of the site with lots of trees on it. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, if you're on the that's looking at the entrance to the subdivision. You can see the heavily treed site. That's looking sort of from the northeast. The next slide shows the interior of the lot, looking. It's sort of a panorama looking west, but you can see pretty much south and back to the north as well. The next slide shows the proposed site plan. So the project is for a single family residence with a detached garage. The access is proposed to come off of Pinehurst Boulevard in this drawing, or Ridge, I think it's Ridgeway. So basically from the north. The setbacks from East Side Drive is 25 feet, and the setback from the north and south are 20 feet. And then from the interior lot line, the setbacks are 10 feet. So it kind of leaves us with a fairly narrow, long and skinny buildable area from north to south. So the project is oriented in that direction, sort of fitting within the setbacks. We propose to keep the garage to the north, just so that we wouldn't have to disturb the site as much, that the driveway can be as limited as possible. And we kept the garage on the west side of the house, just to act as another buffer to a potential future building to the west. And then the experience of the site from inside the residence to the south is important, sort of the opening that building to the south for the views of the surrounding forest. So then let's see, I think the next slide, it just is zoomed in. It's a little bit hard to show all that in one spot, but so it's about a 1,500 square foot footprint with the main entry shown over in a covered porch, the garage just to the north of that. And there's a deck and a covered, sort of a deck patio and a covered patio to the south. The next slide shows a rendering of the project from the north. So this would be what you would see if you came in the driveway from the north. It's basically a story and a half kind of cabin building, fairly modest size. The ground floor level has 2 bedrooms, living space, and a kitchen. The upstairs is sort of a partial upstairs with one sort of large bedroom, bunk room, and a bathroom, and the rest is an open to below space. So you can see that next slide just shows the entryway. So the entry is set back from the front of the house, and it just provides a sheltered area for that front door. The next slide shows the front of the building from sort of the north east. So you can see on that, the east side would be facing East Side Drive. The next slide, as it'll move around sort of clockwise around the building. So this shows the south side of the building, with the large windows, and there is a significant amount of tree cover in between the building and the road. So there's the 25 feet on the lot plus the right of way to the road. So there's a fair amount of distance between the road and the building. the next image, just to run around the building, has, you can see that covered patio area on the west, the little bump out where there's sort of a mudroom and entry space. And the last shot is back around so that you can see the front entryway and access to the main entry. The final slide shows the materials that we're proposing. So the bulk of the facade is a horizontal wood siding, color tones similar to what is shown there. There will be a very small amount of exposed concrete, architectural concrete at the base of the building, and then there'll be a sort of a wainscot of metal panel below that, just as a protection from the snow. The project has large eaves that will also help protect the building. The roof is proposed as an architectural composite shingle roof, and I think, yeah, the windows, probably dark frame windows like that, but basically it's keeping in the tradition of the McCall sort of mountain aesthetic. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that might come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Scott at this time before we go to staff? Okay. Diane, would you like to go over this one? Diane, are you there?
We're here. Thank you for your patience. I think Scott did a great job in describing the location and the site conditions and the design. This is a property that you're looking at because it's adjacent to Eastside Drive, which is a scenic route. It has 162 linear feet along the east side of the property line. It meets all of the zoning requirements for the R4 district in terms of setbacks and property size, height, and maximum house size. Its applicable general development standards relate to tree removal. Parking is met by the two-car garage. The engineering department has reviewed the driveway and it meets their requirements. A site plan indicates that all the existing landscaping, natural vegetation, and trees outside the building envelope will be saved. There's adequate area for snow storage. And the site design maintains natural features. It preserves 84% of the site in a natural condition. It's relatively flat, so they won't require significant land modification, and all the utilities are underground. The one code issue that I just wanted to bring to your attention is this main entrance design requirement that the front door be no further back than 8 feet from the front-facing facade of the building. In this case, the setback is 13 feet. As Scott described, there's a covered porch that provides entry to that doorway. But I think this is mitigated by the fact that the structure is set back 150 feet from the street, and there's trees that buffer the view of the building. So it's not a site that you really are looking to connect the doorway, the main entrance, with the street, which is really the intent of this code provision. They also have provided exterior lighting fixtures, which are dark sky compliant with the code requirements. So you're looking at this from the design review criteria. You're also looking at it from the scenic route review standards, which it complies in all respects. It's very, very much clustered into the site and maintaining the existing conditions on the site by the type of materials it's using and the location. So I think we've covered all of that. And Scott described the exterior materials. It's a very modest design, and I think in all the design reviews I've looked at since I've been here, this is probably the most modest, and it certainly is in keeping with the traditional mountain cabin design that would fit well with the conditions. So no comments from most of our reviewing agencies. Payette Lake Recreation Water and Sewer District has recommended their standard conditions about protecting the sewer service connection and the requirement for purchase and their notification requirements. So conditions of approval is that they protect the trees beforehand for protection during construction, that they provide a restoration plan of areas disturbed, including the mitigation of spread of noxious weeds during and after construction approved by the city arborist. And any trees shall be removed shall be undertaken in consultation with the city arborist, and any trees to be removed that are equal or larger than 12 inches diameter shall be approved by him. And this review will be void after 1 year if a building permit application has not been filed. Any questions for us?
Okay, we will go ahead and proceed with the public hearing. I will open that to anyone who would like to speak about this project, ask questions that can be addressed by the applicant or staff. A reminder, if you're on the phone and you want to comment, you have to unmute yourself, which requires you to hit *6, and sometimes there's a little delay to get you off of mute, so we will provide a little time for that to happen. Again, we are reviewing Design Review 2122, Scenic Route 2110 at TBD Ridgeway Lane. The public hearing is open. We haven't received any written comments on this item.
No, Madam Chairman, and there's no one in person here who has signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. So I don't think we've got anybody commenting this evening on this one, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, I think Diane described this very well as very straightforward and a very modest design compared to a lot of the things we see. So I don't see any red flags personally. I think it's a nice design. It'll fit in well in that area. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we can move forward with the application, in my opinion.
This is Commissioner Lyons. I make a motion we approve, and I don't have the number in front of me, but Scenic Route.
Let's Design Review 2122, Scenic Route 2110.
2110. So we approve that with conditions as stated.
Commissioner Tunnel, I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve Design Review 2122, Scenic Route 2110 with the conditions as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed and the item is approved. Alrighty, we will move on. Thank you. Moving on to Design Review 2114, Shoreline 2103 at 361 Rio Vista Boulevard. Caleb Brown for Mark and Karen Evans. Is there a representative with us?
Caleb Brown speaking.
Okay, you can go ahead and tell us about your project, and then staff will follow up.
Okay, I think I got all my requirements completed, and I came up with the stormwater plan. I believe you guys have it in front of you. And so and then the house is going to be a natural stain with board and bat. architectural shingles, pretty basic mountain style. Other than that, I just trying to get everything passed through you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to speak? Madam Chair, the applicant is also present here at City Hall.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name's Mark Evans, my wife Karen. We're real excited to be here and in McCall and building this home. We just had a few questions, and this may not be the appropriate venue to ask those questions. I think that Caleb has everything in line for approval, unless there are questions that you have for us. I will throw that open to anybody. Yes, ma'am.
I think we wait for the public hearing part.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and have staff present, and then we can maybe go from there if we have, maybe that'll bring up any questions at that time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a new single-family residence with an attached garage. It's also located within 150 feet of the Payette River, so you're looking at as a shoreline request as in addition to design review. The new structure would be on 2 levels with, as I mentioned, an attached garage. It would stair-step down the slope with the main level on the upper street level. The lower level would be excavated approximately 6 to 8 feet into the slope. The design would be northwest, contemporary with low-profile shed roofs of natural brown and cedar, board and batten siding, and landscaping will remain outside of the construction area. This is a site plan that you can see the access off of Rio Vista with a driveway into the attached 2-car garage, and then the buildings stepping down the slope in this location, the main residence.
I'm seeing only the meeting room.
Oh. Is that the case with everyone?
It is. Sorry, I was reading something else, then I just realized it hadn't switched back. There we go.
Okay, there's the site plan. This is Rio Vista with access, with a garage, a 2-car garage attached to the dwelling on the same level and then a lower level below. It meets all of the zoning requirements and the setback from the stream high water mark, which is estimated to be approximately 100 feet. The building height would be approximately 25 feet and it'd be 3,204 square feet in size. The development standards that apply to this project are trees will be removed within the construction site. The 566 square foot garage meets the 2 parking space requirement. The site plan indicates that all the existing landscaping and natural vegetation outside the footprint will remain, and native grasses will be planted in disturbed areas. There's a snow storage area of 1,000 square feet adjacent to the driveway identified on the site plan. And exterior plan lighting has not been submitted, but the intention is that it will meet our standards and reviewed through the building permit. In terms of site design, this is a very steep site. It drops approximately not 82 inches, but 82 feet in grade from the street to the Payette River. The development, however, will be located within the first 100 feet of the front of the lot adjacent to Rio Vista, and will require excavation for the new construction. The plan includes 83% of the site without coverage of impervious surfaces. The preliminary review has been undertaken by Public Works Department, and as the applicant or the architect indicated, they have come back and met many of the requirements that are required prior to issuance of the building permit. So they've been moving along with storm drainage and grading requirements. All the utilities will be undergrounded. You're reviewing this under the design review criteria. And those are the new standards that were adopted in January. So here's an elevation along the east side of the house, so you can see how it drops down and it excavates into the slope. It's consistent in size, design, and character with residents in the surrounding neighborhood. It intends to preserve the natural vegetation outside of the construction site. It's a two-story, 3,204 square feet. The site coverage is 47% of what is allowed by code, and the new construction respects the 50-foot shoreline setback by its location over 100 feet from the property line adjacent to the river. I think we described what the building design and materials were, and it's sufficiently set back to avoid impacts of the snow shedding on any adjacent property, but that will be verified through the building permit review process. Then in terms of the shoreline and river environment standards, it meets all of the requirements of Title III, Chapters 3, 7, 8, and 16. The river high watermark has not been identified, but since the structure is sufficiently set back at over 100 feet and higher in elevation, we are pretty confident it will not be inundated. It appears there's a 404 permit will not be necessary, although the city reserves the right to require one later if it becomes necessary, and it meets all of the requirements of the shoreline zone and the R4 low density residential zone. The 50-foot setback is more than met by the 100 feet from the property line, and the stormwater certification requirements have been communicated and are underway between the applicant and the city. The commission has to determine that it does not dominate the vista to the water or have an adverse impact on visual quality, and it'll be located in the middle of a highly vegetated slope above the elevation of the river, and the low profile and size of the house in relationship to the site will minimize the view from the river. The proposed colors and materials are compatible with its surroundings, and it's modest in size compared and will not be unreasonably impact natural surroundings or be incompatible with the residents on adjoining properties. The view of the structure from the river will not significantly change because of the maintenance of the existing natural vegetation. So no comments were received from McCall Fire and EMS or Idaho Department of Lands. The Central District Health indicated a septic permit has been issued, and PLR WSD said sewer service is unavailable. And Public Works has provided a series of reviews, 3 that are included in your packet, which identified the final engineering requirements prior to issuance of the building permit. So the conditions are that they receive final engineering from the city engineer. They demonstrate that the driveway grade meets the standards for dimension and slope identified in the code. They provide fixture details to meet the dark sky requirements. That a restoration plan of trees of areas disturbed during construction, including the mitigation of spread of noxious weed during and after construction, be approved by the city arborist. And any tree removal shall be undertaken in consultation with the city arborist, and any trees removed that are larger than 12 inches in diameter be approved by him. That they install tree protection measures on site during construction. And I've got another condition on lighting, so we can scratch F, sorry about that. And that this approval will lapse after 1 year if there's not an approved building permit application. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Commissioners, any questions before I open the public hearing?
We have one person here in attendance to speak on this item.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And if she would like to come forward and state her name and address for the record, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Jackson, and I live at 348 Rio Vista, which is across the street, and I'm not opposed to having new neighbors. My concern was the sewer system, because I know that the sewer connection is not existent there, and I spent all summer last year trying to get mine fixed because there's an illegal entry into it. So I guess if there's a septic system, I have no concern other than the fact that the septic system is on the river.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything, this is Mark Evans speaking, is there anything planned for sewage on that quarter mile of Rio Vista that does not have sewage?
No, there should be.
Well, I know that I've seen a couple of test holes dug for septic along Rio Vista since ours was approved. And I'm just wondering, will that force the issue of sewer availability, or is that up to the individual homeowners along there to foot the bill, or is that something that the city has got on the back burner?
So the sewer district is a separate entity from the city. So it's not something that we, are able to comment on what their intention might be. But, you could ask the sewer district if that, something that interests you. But
Okay, thank you.
From what I'm aware of.
We can give you a contact.
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
Okay, if there was anyone else on the phone who would like to comment on this item at 361 Rio Vista Boulevard, now is the time to do so. And if you are muted, you may need to hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, it doesn't sound like we have anyone else coming forward. So I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions or concerns?
This is Commissioner Tunnel. Hearing no concerns or questions, I'd make a motion to approve design review 2114 and shoreline 2103.
This is Commissioner Clements with a second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve design review 2114 and shoreline 2103 at 361 Rio Vista Boulevard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. And we are on to the next. Design review 2118, shoreline 2105 at 2168 Payette Drive. Do we have a representative for this project?
Okay.
Go again.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
This is Jacob Maupin with Maupin Homes.
Hello. Go ahead and you can present on your project, and then we'll hear from staff.
So we are proposing a 528 square foot addition onto an existing home. It'll consist of a new kitchen, new mudroom, and new bathroom. Exterior siding is going to be a log look siding with board and bat and the gable ends. It's going to match a shop that we just finished on the property earlier this year. As you can see in the picture up there, there is a shed just to the right of the home that will be removed as well. Architectural shingles, we're going to reshingle the whole entire structure, update the roof on the house. That will also match the new shop that's on the property now. We are working in conjunction with Boulder Creek Landscaping to make sure that our site plan is up to date and meets all the requirements. I know that there's 2 trees that were removed that need to be replaced. There'll also be new grass that'll need to be reseeded around the construction area. And we're going to work with him to make sure that all of our erosion control is in place. So we meet all requirements. I'm trying to think. The addition has a nice covered porch out front. It's going to be a natural wood color to match all the structures on the property now. Trying to think. I think that's all. Unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll throw it over to staff.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So Jacob covered this fairly well. You're looking at this because the property is located within 150 feet of Payette Lake. The addition is on the front side of the house facing the street, not the lake. This is the existing conditions, and you can see the 2 trees that have been removed. And so the addition would be forward of that face of the building that you see in that photograph. This is a site plan that shows you the access from Payette Drive, and this is the new garage that he mentioned was built in last fall, and this is the proposed addition in front of the existing residence. Originally, this application included improvements to landscaping within the 50-foot setback between the house and the lake. And those plans had been done before our new requirements for landscaping. And so we bifurcated this application, and a condition is that those landscape plans would come back for a separate shoreline review at such time as they are completed. So they're not part of this current application. It meets all of our setback requirements for the R4 zoning district. There's no landscape plans submitted, and that will be a condition of approval. There's adequate area for snow storage, and that will be confirmed through the building permit. This site includes 64% of the site without coverage of impervious surface. And the building addition is in a relatively flat area that's previously been graded out. And conditions of approval require drainage and storm drainage plans, and all utilities are underground already. Exterior lighting is planned that will meet city requirements, and verification will need to be made through the building permit that that's the case. You're looking at this for design review criteria. The proposal is very consistent with the neighborhood character. It's very small in scale, 537 square feet. As indicated, 2 large trees were removed, and a condition of approval is that they be replaced outside the building and driveway footprint. There'll be no changes to the existing access onto Payette. It's small scale. It covers, coverage will bring it up to 96.5% of what's allowed by code, and the new addition is well outside of the 50-foot shoreline setback. Jacob described for you the materials and the roof, the new roof that will be added to the whole structure, not just the addition. And there's sufficient setback to avoid impacts on snow shedding, but again, that'll be verified by the building official through that process. Because of the location of this addition, it really has very little or any impacts on the shoreline and environs criteria. No permits will be required, although one has been filed for the landscaping improvements when they come before you. It meets all the requirements of the R4 district, and I think there'll be a stormwater certification that's required prior to the issuance of building permit. You can't see it from the lake. It's certainly compatible with the existing building and the buildings around it. It's very modest in size, and so very little impact on the shoreline. We had no objections from McCall, or no comment from McCall Fire and EMS, IDT, Central District Health, Payette Lakes Recreation, Water and Sewer District, and Idaho Department of Lands, and McCall Public Works identified the requirements for final engineering approval. which will be required as a condition of approval. Also, any outdoor lighting fixtures to be approved before the building permit is issued, and a landscape plan for the replacement of the trees and disturbed areas to be reseeded. And the future landscape improvements within the 50-foot setback from Payette Lake will be subject to the separate design review and shoreline permit approval. And again, this permit will lapse if there has not been a building permit applied for within 1 year. Thank you. That completes our report.
Thank you, Diane. Commissioners, any questions at this point? All right, we will go ahead and open the public hearing to anyone who'd like to comment on this project. If you are on the phone and you'd like to make a comment, you just need to hit *6 to unmute yourself and allow a few seconds. Taking comments for 2168 Payette Drive. Okay, I don't hear anyone, so I'm thinking we don't have anybody. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is a pretty simple, straightforward project. Unless you have any comments, questions, or concerns, I would entertain a motion.
I'm good with that. I just don't have the number in front of me, Fallon.
It's design review 2118, shoreline 2105.
2118 and
2105 for shoreline.
okay. I move that we approve
design review.
Design review 21 what?
2118.
2118 design review and shoreline 2105.
This is Commissioner Tunnel. I second that.
Madam Chair, this is Bill Punkany, the attorney.
Yes.
Was that motion subject to the conditions of approval recommended by staff?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be clear.
You want me to restate the motion? Because I don't have the doggone agenda in front of me because I left it at my McCall house when I came down here to Eagle.
Just let the record reflect.
Okay, thank you.
I'll repeat it too. Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the table for approval of design review 2118 and shoreline 2105 with conditions as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion is passed. Now, we are going to move to our pre-application that we moved to the back of the agenda.
Commissioner Faraday?
Yes.
Should we do the commission seat since it is an action item before we?
Oh, sure. That would be great. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So we have a seat and staff, do you have information on this? I didn't realize. Which seat do we have open? Thank you.
Royal.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Make it bigger. I did not. Hopefully Morgan did.
thank you for sending those out in the packet as well. It was nice to see those.
Yes. So we have a letter from Ryan Kinzer and Christina Nemec. They're both in your packet. Starting page 190.
Are either of the applicants with us this evening? Or applicant, I don't know, interested member?
There's nobody in the room left.
Okay, I was wondering if they might be on the phone, but.
We were just discussing whether or not they had been formally invited
Got it.
prior to Morgan's
I think that didn't happen.
exit last Friday, but that may not have happened. So do not take their absence as a lack of not wanting to be here. I don't believe that they were invited to speak. I don't know that we normally do that as a rule. I've seen it happen occasionally, or if, you know, it's something where you guys want to hear somebody come through. I know they've done that in the past as well.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Question for Rachel or Brian, this is Commissioner Clements. I assume we're all good for meeting in person now if we so choose. I see you're not masked, and do we have population constraints in that room, or are we good to start meeting in public if we choose to?
Yeah, so the open meeting laws, I think, have changed a little bit. So we do have an occupancy limit of, I believe, 13 inside Legion Hall.
Okay.
So tonight, for instance, no, we only allowed, I don't think we turned anyone away, but no, in addition to staff, a total of 13.
All right, thank you. I just wanted that for clarification going forward. Back to the commissioner seat. Sorry for that diversion. I read both of the bios or the letters of interest. I'll lead is it time to lead the conversation, Fallon, or are we ready for that?
Go for it.
I was somewhat impressed with Christina Nemec's history and her experience. I think it would be quite beneficial to this group. I don't know her. I'm basing this only on what I've read from the two applicants. So that's my 2 cents worth with the data that I have.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Lyons, I agree. I think Christina Nemec seems to have some great attributes that I think would be beneficial to the committee and the area. So I like that one personally.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Tunnel, and I would agree with both Robert and Steve's comments.
Commissioner Cron, I would agree as well. I think both would be a good asset, but I also as well lean towards Nemec.
Okay. So it sounds like I need a motion for recommendation.
This is Commissioner Lyons. I make a motion that we nominate Christine Nemec to be approved as commissioner by the City Council.
This is Commissioner Tunnel. I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, no, I think that was a unanimous yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we
sorry,
will...
getting delay with mute here. Sorry
No, that's
that.
fine. We will send a recommendation for Ms. Nemec to City Council, and hopefully we will have her joining us in the future. Okay. Okay, now
Okay, this is Commissioner Lyons. I'm gonna be out of service here in a second. So, is that everything we needed for action items?
I believe so. Thanks for joining, and we will see you next month.
And I did send an email with a couple questions I had regarding the Knowles Road property. So I'm hoping Brian had that, if that could be brought up just to the applicant on those couple of questions. Other than that, I didn't have any questions on the other application.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you much. Bye.
Okay, so we will move to our pre-application items. First up is 176 Coy Road, Denise Carter and Corby Garrett. Is there someone to present that project?
This is Denise Carter. Corby Garrett's on also, as is our engineer, Chad Carter. So thank you for having us. As you can see, we submitted a pre-application for our property 176 Coy Road. We're looking to develop 9.22 acres into 8 single-family residential lots. The property is currently zoned R1, and we're not looking to change that. We're hoping to keep it as single-family uses of 1 acre or more, and to keep with the surrounding uses of the properties, which are all typically 1 acre or more. And you have up on the thing the plan. So I'll kind of defer to Corby on that because he and Chad worked on that. And he's got to figure out how to unmute, I guess.
It's *6. It can take a few seconds to come through.
Okay, I think I'm live now. Hi, this is Corby Garrett. Yeah, like Denise said, this is our application to subdivide a property we recently purchased. We're all native Idahoans and just bought this property and would like to subdivide it into 8 lots. We plan to keep the lot 4 with the existing house. I designed the subdivision myself, and did the initial survey and just with mapping software. Chad Carter with Eco Engineers is our engineer, and I would defer to him for any of the more technical questions. Anyways, we're open to any questions or anything that the board has questions about.
Any feedback, commissioners?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Tunnell. At this point, I guess it appears that they're all accessed from is it Chad Drive and Coy Road? Is that what I see here?
Yes.
So the
property lies between Chad and Coy Road. It's a pretty beneficial from our standpoint that it has access on both sides of the property. All the other houses near individual driveways, individual septic, and individual wells, and that's what we're proposing with these lots. Technically, the property is in the Valley County and not within the city limits. However, we are following through with the city protocol to subdivide it with the city standards.
So they'll all be septics and their own well.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Clements, just a technical question. Have you done any test drills or have drill logs to see if that's possible? for that density to have the individual wells?
Yes, we've, Chad, our engineer's been working with Central District Health. We installed groundwater monitoring wells in February and have been collecting data. We're just about through with that process, in which we will submit the application with Southwest District Health and the data. So yes, that's in the works right now. And Chad, you could add to that if you have anything else.
Okay, thank you. I asked the question because you probably obviously know the fallback position on that would be a community system if there was a challenge with that going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? Doesn't sound like it. Okay. Well, we will look forward to seeing your application in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we will move on to our other item on pre-apps, which is 1101 Knowles Road. Philip Pack for the park at McCall.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so our pre-application is for a planned unit development at 1101 Knowles Road. We have an approximately 1.9 acre parcel there, which is zoned R8. We don't have any plans to change the zoning at that location. The application includes some concept plans for how we would develop it. As we understand it, the development of Knowles Road would be required, including new asphalt. So that is in the plan. So we show some drawings there. We also plan to work with the city to determine exactly what that cross section will look like. Knowles Road is predominantly single family dwellings. I believe we are the only property on that road that is zoned, that is adjacent to that road, that is zoned R8. And so we plan to work with city to determine exactly what that cross section will look like. Knowles Road was originally designed to be a through street further to the south, but the construction of subdivisions to the south led to that really not having an outlet. So it was never designed with a turnaround. Our plan is to work with the city to provide a turnaround, whether it be a cul-de-sac turnaround or a hammerhead turnaround that will work to turn emergency vehicles and city vehicles, etc. So that is some of that shows there. We included a concept plan of the locations of duplexes, basically townhomes in there, and the other plans for the property. So from there, I guess I would open it up to any comments or questions.
So the elevations that were shown briefly, yeah, okay, it does have a garage. That was my question. Is there a garage for each unit?
Our idea on that is to actually have a garage in the basement of each unit. So the first basement isn't the right word. First floor slab on grade would be a garage with 2 stories above.
Okay. And is that a single garage or?
No, it's a 2-car garage.
Okay.
The garage dimensions are on the sheet immediately following elevations. The garage dimensions themselves are 27 by 36.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Faraday?
Yes.
Would you like me to read off Commissioner Lyons' questions for this?
If you would like to, I can pull them up also if you would rather me address them.
I've got them right in front of me.
Okay.
So first one was, what has been done regarding the existing house being non-conforming as to part of the building being in the right-of-way?
Yes, I can respond to that. We've worked with the city on options. We're trying to mitigate that. We were first trying to maybe trade some right-of-way in this emergency vehicle turnaround, etc. We've had discussions with city engineers and planners, and we are still attempting to mitigate that issue. All of the proposed townhomes will be constructed conforming to the existing right-of-way. So we're trying to work with these two things in concert, if you will. We don't plan to, none of the new construction will be non-conforming. And we just need to determine how to work with the city to mitigate that issue. And what happened there, just for some backstory, is in the early 2000s, the previous owner of the property obtained building permits from McCall City to construct an addition to the property, and then he went ahead and constructed it into the existing right-of-way. As much as the structure exists, as much as 13 feet of the structure exists into the city right-of-way. So we're trying to purchase property from the across the street neighbors to mitigate that issue and realign the Knowles Road right-of-way. And we're working through that. We haven't had a lot of success in discussions to this point with our neighbors, but we still are trying to solve that right-of-way issue.
All right, and then the second question is, the property size at 1.8 acres allows for 15 units total, and they already have a very large house on the parcel. So are you proposing to do any community housing, or what is your suggestion for remedying that you are above the allowed density for the zone?
We've considered community housing. We understand at 1.88 acres that the property will allow for 16 units, and that kind of came from staff. Honestly, because of a lot of existing trees on the property that we do not want to lose, we probably will not build more than the allowed units. If 15 are allowed, we would build 15. That's what we kind of understood from staff. If 14 are allowed, we have discussed at length community or local housing, if you will, and it's just hard to go to those higher density numbers because of trying to save existing old growth trees.
Thank you. That's all the questions that Commissioner Lyons had.
This is Commissioner Cron. I just want to know what the use of the existing house is going to be following this. Will it remain a vacation rental?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. If we're able to move forward with this development, it probably would not be, but part of it depends on the mitigation of the right-of-way issues. If we can mitigate that, we'd like to turn it into a single-family dwelling. It's difficult right now because of its encroachment on right-of-way. So I don't know how to answer your question. I don't know how that will end.
Any other comments or concerns for the applicant while they're here? Okay. Well, we will watch for your application in the future then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any signs to look at this month, or have we?
Oh shoot, I don't know if Morgan approved any or not. Like done or to do.
Everybody in the room is shaking their head like nobody.
Yeah.
I approved one
You approved one?
through my administration as a new
Yes.
person. It was for Simply Made Home Design at 50 something. Yes, that Holbrook one. And I don't know if this is like the forum where I say I gave them the conditions of not having a white background, but it may not be so should you happen to drive past it. But I did say don't use white. And that's all I have to say about that. My name's Meredith. I'm new. Nice to meet all of you.
Hello, nice to meet you. This is a strange world we live in where we can't really tell who anybody is, but welcome.
So Meredith is the new assistant city planner. It's a new position for the city. So she'll be taking over all of my P&Z duties. So you guys hopefully won't see me again.
Whatever will you do, Rachel?
I will do the other half of my job, which is booming, which is building permitting. So, but yeah, so you'll see Meredith, and then she'll be doing also some higher level planning stuff and helping out the new city planner, Brian, who is here tonight as well.
Yes, welcome both of you.
Bring it so everybody can see you.
Be able to meet each other in person one of these days.
Monday.
Okay, so one sign, and anything else from staff or commissioners?
I don't believe so. There was a zone application that's probably worth mentioning. That was withdrawn by the applicant. We're going to see it in a different format, likely in the future, perhaps next month for Colorado Street. Okay. That was kind of pulled relatively recently. I'm not sure if there's anybody on the line still waiting to hear that application, but you know, it's something that we'll probably see in the future in a different form, not particularly as a rezone application.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Unless there's anything else from commissioners, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone.